Italy. Or, I'm still going to need that.
Study it.
Say this a little bit. There we go. Cool. So we are in 1 Samuel chapter 8 tonight. Okay. So yes, we will be looking at Samuel, the Israelites wanting a king, and the demand for a king for the Israelites, and a little bit of Samuel's life. So we're putting the human side back into Scripture. So Don, I'll have you start. Will you read verses 1 through 5 for me?
Now it came to pass when Samuel was old that he made his sons judges over Israel. The name of his firstborn was Joel, and the name of his second, Abijah. They were judges in Beersheba. But his sons did not walk in his ways. They turned aside after dishonest gain, took bribes, and perverted justice. Then all the elders of Israel gathered together and came to Samuel at Ramah and said to him, "Look, you are old, and your sons do not walk in your ways. Now make us a king to judge us like all the nations."
Perfect. So this is kind of an interesting thing here. Samuel was old again, and he made his sons judges over Israel. What doesn't it say there? Samuel's supposed to be a man of God.
Yeah, he didn't ask God about it.
He didn't ask God about it. That's the scary part, is even the most righteous ruler wants someone to take after him.
Or God didn't tell him, I guess.
And God, it never says he consulted God. It never says he did.
Right.
It never said he prayed to him, because God always set the judge over Israel. He called somebody to be the judge over Israel. And here's Samuel picking his sons to be judges. So it's like, first he ignores God at this time. And then he has his two sons, Joel and Abiah. And then they walk after filthy gain, bribes, and perverted judgment. Where have we heard this before? In this book.
Eli's sons.
Eli. Eli and his sons. All of a sudden, Samuel is doing the exact same thing Eli did a generation before.
Right. Even though Samuel wasn't related to.
No. But that brings up the question, who raised Samuel?
Well, Eli did.
Eli did. Eli did. And that brings me to another question for a lot of people. Is like, when you are raising a child, the child has two options: to be exactly like you or do the exact opposite. Whether for better or for worse, that child can do exactly like whoever's raising him, and sometimes they can do the exact opposite of what's raising him. Samuel here is doing the exact same thing Eli did. That becomes an issue, because all of a sudden his sons are bribing, they're being filthy, and they're perverting judgment. You would think Samuel would have learned, especially after having to give that news to Eli all those years ago. You think because Eli made his sons judges and they perverted the law, and Eli never corrected them. So that tells me Samuel never corrected his sons either. And that's where it becomes a warning to pastors and preachers, especially this. So I'll try not to get into this. I'll try to save this topic for later, maybe in a sermon. Is if you're a pastor, it goes your own nutrition first, then your family, then your flock. And that family and flock can really easily get blurred. I've done that a couple of times. And that's where it gets tough, because of the fact of you want to take care of your calling, but you have to take care of your family. Otherwise, it stops with you.
Yeah.
How many of us have seen God, like we were talking about, godly men in the Bible, and their families fall apart because they're so worried about the gospel, they neglect their own children and don't teach it to them. And that's a scary thing. And as a father, that's a scary thing for me, especially, and it's even double being a preacher right now, because I know I want to help all these people. I need to take care of you guys. That's my job. But I have to take care of my family as well, because I am terrified to see what would happen And it would break my heart. I'm sure it breaks anyone's heart if their child is not a believer.
Yeah.
Because you look at it and you say, they always say you can't take it with you into heaven. I say you can take your children into heaven with you, and your parents, and your grandchildren. See, it's really, really important to pour into your family and pour into them and say, I will take care of you. I will be with you. I'm going to take care of this. And sometimes that means you have to cut out your functions, your needs, but you have to be close to God first. Feed yourself before you can feed others. Because how many of us have ever been on an airplane before and they're giving you the thing, or here's the safety belt, here's the flight of draft inflatable, here's the mask. What do they always tell you to do with the mask?
Flock.
When it comes down, put it on.
You put yours on first
Yes.
before you help anyone else. And you're in the exit row. For a lot of people, they say you have to be able to help people out. But the mask is one of those things that you have to put yourself on first. Because I can maybe get it on Donna in time, but then I'm going to pass out.
Right.
But if I put mine on first, then I can get Donna, Bart, and Don. I can get everyone. And that's the dangerous part, is sometimes we forget to put on our own mask first before we help others. And you have to be willing to understand, take care of your needs at home, and then you take care of your children and your spouse, and then you take care of everyone else. And that can be a really hard line, especially as Christians in general, because you want to help people. You want to be like, oh, I can help you here, I can help you there. But sometimes you have to say, I need to take care of my family. I know your family's hurting, but I need to take care of my family. And I've had instances where I've been able to help people. God's always provided for me. But at the same time, I look back sometimes, I'm kind of like, could have been a little bit smarter about some of the decisions I made before when I was younger.
I think all of us has done
Yeah.
that, yeah. I was watching this on the Christian channel I was on. Man came on there that his mother, when he was a baby, and he was the youngest of the kids, she took him and gave him to a teacher in the town. And this teacher had already had her kids and everything. She was, ready to retire and everything. But she raised this little boy. And so now he knows how it felt like. He felt he wasn't wanted by his own mother. And
Yep.
he had older siblings that
Yeah.
stayed with. But there was drugs and alcohol and everything else. But he now goes in to churches, and they let him go into, he's been in a lot of schools, and he's got a program all over the world, and just talks to young people. And now he's even gone into kindergarten to fourth grade,
Yeah.
because he was doing middle school and high school,
Yep.
and he can't say, teach Bible stuff
Right.
in these bigger schools that he goes to, but he listens to them, and they're wanting to know stuff,
Yeah.
hard questions, and they write him, and he writes them back, and he's wrote a book about, and he had like 3 of the kids that had been under him and come on there and said how they helped him,
Yep.
because they was headed for, these kids have got a lot of problems, a lot more than we have had.
Yep. And there was a study done about a lot of men. There was a bunch of guys in jail, and they said, how many of you guys would like to write out a Mother's Day card? And it went like wildfire. Like, everyone wrote their mothers, and it was huge success back a few years ago. I think it was in some area of the United States. It's like, oh, we'll do the same thing for Father's Day. 2 guys volunteered for it. And they're like, so they asked the people, why did you write your mothers but not your fathers? I never knew my father. Or if I did know my father, he didn't love me enough to discipline me to keep me from being in here. And they're like, when I get out, I want to discipline my kids so they don't come in here. Because it's like, if I had a father that loved me enough to say, I'm going to discipline you and take care of you so you don't go down this path, that's love.
Yeah, that's what he said. It's love. That's what he, and this girl, she cut her wrist, and they found her in time, and and she wrote him and told him that she thanked him and everything, and he said, you know, and a lot, most of the kids, you know, they will accept Jesus eventually. They work with him, and he's got a team that works with him. And you know, he said that you got a family now. He tells them,
exactly,
and you got a Father in heaven.
Mm-hmm. And how many of us have seen it in, especially working in the schools? I've worked with middle schoolers, high schoolers. I remember being in one. Just seeing the people that just want somebody to take an interest in their lives.
Yeah.
They just want somebody to
And
say,
care for 'em.
will you invest in me? Because kids will test the boundaries. But as much as I say I hate having rules and structure, they actually really enjoy it. My son is now 1. He started to push the boundaries of what he can do and what he can't do. And he was one day, he was throwing food off his plate. I said, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it again. He looked at me and dropped it. I said, you're done. Went and grabbed the paddle, and he saw me coming. He heard my walk, and he starts crying. It's going like, I know that cry. You're trying to ask for forgiveness and mercy. I'm like, too late, kid. So I take the paddle, swat him, get him done, and he's crying. I set him on the floor, go put the paddle away, and he's crying. I'm like, we don't put food on the floor. I let him cry for about 2 or 3 minutes. I picked him up, and I said, you're okay. Papa still loves you. Rubbed his back. But lo and behold, all of a sudden, when I was feeding him next, he grabbed food, put it in his mouth, and ate it. And then when he was done, he just grabbed the fork and started playing with the fork. I said, that's fine. You can play with the fork, but we don't throw food off the table. And it's one of those things of where if you give them responsibility of what to do, they love to do it. How many of us can remember being a child and your dad asked you to put a chore and he watched you do it, and then all of a sudden you got good enough, he says, you go do it by yourself. And you're like, oh, I can do this. I'm really good at this. My wife has this great example of where she was helping her dad as a missionary kid, and she was in charge of the four-wheeler, and so she knew the ins and outs of the four-wheeler, what to do, how to fix it, do all these things. So when her dad called her, I said, I need your help with the four-wheeler. She left. And then when she came back to go play with the kids, all the kids were staring at her wide-eyed like, your dad trusts you to work with a four-wheeler? Oh, yeah, that's my thing. I've learned how to work it and fix it and do all these things. Oh, I wish my dad would give me that kind of responsibility because kids want to be responsible. I took so many of my youth boys. I can handle youth boys like it's no tomorrow. That doesn't bother me because it's like, all right, here's what you do. You feed them, you put them to work. And it's like, hey, I have a zero turn. They're like, oh, you have a zero turn? Can I come drive it? Sure. Let me watch you, and they'll drive it around. I have a big area in the back of our yard. They drive it around so they can't hit anything. I'm like, all right, go at it. I can go? Yeah. Show me how you do turns around certain areas. Do the backyard first, and we'll move to the front yard so you don't hit as much and run over flowers. Then I'll let you do the hill. And they're like, and then all of a sudden, one day, I'm like, all right, there's the keys. You know how to start. Check the oil. I'll be out here watching you if you need me. Pull up the lawn chair, grab my ice water, sat in the shade, and I just sat there while they took off mowing. You talk about elation from those boys. They're just happy as a clam because they have the responsibility that someone's trusting them with a zero turn. They're not using the little rider or push mower anymore. They're using the big zero turn. And it's like, I know how to do this now. And it's like, yes, you do. I trust you. And because of that, all those boys, if they hit something, they said, I think I hit something. Not a problem. Let me see and take a look at it. And they would come up to me and say it, or they'd say, hey, can I have some drink? I'm really thirsty. I get you a water. No big deal. And then when they went home, their parents would call me. And they'd be like, he knows how to use a zero turn now. I'm like, yes, he does. How'd you able him to do that? He doesn't listen to us. I'm like, because I'm not the parent. They're like, what's that difference make? I'm like, I need this for my son when he gets older because, as you guys know, when you have a 16-year-old child, your parents know nothing. Absolutely nothing. And that goes on from about 16 to 25. Parents don't know diddly squat. I know everything. I'm bulletproof. You know how to figure it all out. But then when someone else says the same exact thing, one of their friends, a mentor, something like that into their lives, and they hear it, and they're like, oh, that makes good sense. And you as a parent just kind of like, I've told you that over and over. Why don't you know this? But because you're the parent, it's a different style. They look at you because you have to be the hard disciplinary. You have to set those hard lines, and you have to do that. And what I've told a lot of the children, and what I'll tell my son is, I have never had a child at your age before. I don't know what to happen, where to go, or what to do. I don't know what's going on. I'm learning with you. And the light that clicks on to the oldest people that are the oldest children, they're like, you're right. My parents don't know what to do with me. Because they're like, well, they treat my children differently because they've had you as an experiment. They're like, experiment? I'm like, kind of poor words of putting it. But it's like, you are the trial run. If you are the first one doing this, then all of a sudden, they know how to do it better for the next one. Have you ever done something of learning to do better? And the first time you don't know what to do, the second time you better, and all of a sudden you figure out the tricks of the trade. Yeah, I've done that a few times. It gets easier, doesn't it? Yeah. Same with raising a child. Oh. Well, that makes sense. I'm like, So give your parents some grace too. Because they're trying to deal with all this. But the kids are yelling and screaming. But they love you, so they're trying to take care of you. And they want your help. That's what Samuel forgot to do. He forgot to put his kids first. After feeding God, he got to put God first in your family. And because he forgot to do that, they perverted judgment. And how sad is that for all of us? I've seen it in my own parents of where they've said, my kids don't know the Lord, but I pray they come back. I've seen that in my aunt's family. I wish they knew the Lord. And it's heartbreaking to see that. Your children don't know the Lord, but you do, because you know where they're headed to. And you pray for them and you teach them, and then you start to kick yourself saying, I wish I could have done more. I wish I would have trained them a little better. I can imagine Samuel saying that thing right now as well. He's had to wash his hands of his sons and say, I have to be done with them. I have failed. And that is a hard reality check for a lot of parents. And it's not an easy one. It's a dangerous one. But then Samuel still runs to God and does all that. It's a hard topic to talk about, but we have to remember, I think it's a very solemn warning for a lot of people in the Bible, especially pastors like myself and other pastors out there. Take care of yourself with God, then your family, then your flock. Because otherwise it can get real hairy real quick. But anyways, let's go on. Verses 6 through 9. Bart, will you read that?
But the thing displeased Samuel when they said, give us a king to judge us. So Samuel prayed to the Lord, and the Lord said to Samuel, heed the voice of the people in all that they say to you, for they have not rejected you, but they have rejected me, that I should not reign over them, according to all the works which they had done since the day that I brought them up out of Egypt, even to this day, with which they had forsaken me and served other gods, little g. So they are doing to you also. Now therefore heed their voice. However you shall solemnly forewarn them and show them the behavior of the king who will reign over them.
Yep. So we look at this. The Israelites want a king. We saw that in verse 5. Now make us a king to judge like all the nations. And this displeased Samuel, because Samuel knew what it was like to be ruled by God. He knew what it was like to follow after God, to train up him, and to be close to God, because he had seen God as his father, as his ruler, as his master, as his king. Samuel had made God the Lord of his life. The master craftsman, the ruler of it all. And the Israelites are rejecting him. Here we go again with this cycle where we had follow after God, things are good times. All of a sudden we start to fall away, and then we got to go back to God and be punished again. We're coming back to where times are good right now with Samuel, and we're starting to fall back away. Yeah. I'm dying on this part.
I need a drink.
Okay. But it's one of those things of where you look at all this, they're rejecting a perfect ruler. because they want to be like somebody else. Huh. Where else have we seen that in our daily lives before? Somebody wants to be like somebody else. Anyone ever seen a middle schooler or a high schooler?
Yeah.
All of a sudden they want to fit in with the crowd. They want to look like somebody, dress a certain way, talk a certain way, use a certain kind of language and fit right in.
I had a third grader here just a week or two ago. He said, well, I want to do what you do all day long. I said, okay, you can. The next time if somebody gets sick in the bathroom, you can come and clean it up. He had never asked me again.
Yeah, exactly. But you want to be like the people. You want to fit in. Sometimes fitting in is not always good. Sometimes it's better to stand out and be different. But you can imagine, like that kid, it's like, I want to be like you. You don't know all the darkness that does. Because that kid didn't realize you had to get clean up vomit.
Yeah.
It's like, nope, that's not a lot of fun. You don't say. Sometimes what we do with people, what we see, is not the full truth.
Yeah.
Look at a fish go fishing again. When you go fishing, you use bright, shiny bait, something that's really catchy, but you have a hook in it.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, you think that hook, you bite the bait, and you're hooked. And you get to catch that fish. You're happy, the fish is not. How many of us have seen children try and go after the bait to fit in, not knowing what they're asking for? You see kids asking, I want to be an adult. I want to have responsibility. I want to do all of these things. I want to be like you. In some places, that's really, really good. And as parents, we try and protect them and hide them from some things so they see the good. But as they get older, the world starts to open up more and more. And it's our job to prepare them for the world so they know what to do. So they know what they're asking when they ask a question. It's like, do you really know what you're asking when you want to be the head of house? My dad told me once where I was like, I beat him in Bull of the Woods. And I said, oh, I'm head of the household now, Dad, because I beat you, so I'm the big man of the house. He's like, okay, son, you beat me. Yes, you did. I'm like, yeah, I did, Dad. I rule this house. And I was like, all right, that means I will be under your rule. I'm like, okay, no big deal. He's like, okay, cool. And then your sister will be under your rule. I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. They get to do what I tell them. Your mother's under your rule. Okay, cool. She has to do it. I order what I want for breakfast and everything. He's like, okay. And then you're responsible for all their actions to God. My face changed. I'm like, I've got to do what? He's like, you are responsible for all their actions to God. They report to you, but you report to God. That means anything they do wrong, you have to answer to God for. I'm like, seriously? He's like, that's the price of being the father. If you want to run the house, you know all the responsibility that comes with it, and you get to go to work as well. I'm like, yeah, I got basketball season coming up. He's like, that's what I thought. I'm like, I'll let you have it for a few more years, Dad. He was like, wise choice, son. Wise choice. And that's when it really sunk into me. The responsibility of it all, of being the parent, being the spiritual leader, being the provider, being the protector of what you're supposed to do. Because everyone does something and reports. In a chain of command of the military, the private's responsible to the corporal's responsible to the NCO, the sergeants respond to the officers. And you have to be responsible for everything your soldiers do. And the people who are over the NCOs then report to the higher up chains. Everyone reports to somebody until they report to the commander-in-chief, the president, and he reports to the people. Everyone reports to someone higher. And we report to God. And you have to be able to remember, God is our ruler. He's a benevolent ruler, a kind ruler, a loving ruler, but he's also a just ruler. And I think when people ask for justice from God, they don't know what they're asking. I'd rather have grace and mercy from the Father, because then I'm forgiven, I'm cleansed, I'm protected, and I get to go into heaven. If I ask for justice from God, I'm in trouble. Story about this I heard from R.C. Sproul years ago. He was a teacher at a college, and they were writing papers. There was 3 papers that were due. And he said, all right, everyone has to be turned in by this date, say like the end of the month. So in September, 98% of the people turned their paper in on time. In November or in October, about 50% did. At the end of it, 25% did. And he counted everyone after that in December who didn't turn theirs in on time. He counted them late and gave them 0. The other times, he's let them say, okay, you're okay. I'll give you grace. One student came up to him and said, that's not fair. I demand justice for this because mine was late and you forgave us all these other times. I demand justice. R.C. Sproul looks at him and says, you demand justice for me, right? He's like, yes, I do. I want my paper to have justice and my grade to have justice. He's like, okay. Starts flipping through his notes. And he says, all 3 of your papers were turned in late, weren't they? He's like, yes. And you demand justice? Yes, I do. You get justice. You have failed my class. You get a 0. I'll see you next semester. He looks to the rest of the class. Does anyone else demand justice? They all were silent. And it's like, you desire mercy and grace. You don't desire justice. Justice is getting what you righteously deserve.
Yeah.
We're sinners. I'm a sinner. I deserve hell and damnation.
You deserve the punishment.
You deserve the punishment. Israelites wanted what they wanted. They didn't know what they were asking for with the king.
Yeah.
They got what they deserved. Instead of following after God, who's merciful and gracious to us and forgiving and loving and kind. But he also has that standard of justice. And we'll look into seeing what's going on here in the next few verses about what the king's going to do to these people. What's going to happen, how they're going to have to happen with it. And that's scary. To have a king ruling over you and have all this happen. Because you want God, I want God. You're not rejecting me. You're not rejecting the people. You're rejecting God. And that is your best ruler of all. So let's go into verses 10 through 18. John, I'll read that. Or Don. Sorry, I'm calling you John tonight, Don. I don't know. I'm getting my names all mixed up. I'll read 10 through 18. If you want to read 19 through 22, let me read my section first. And Samuel told all the words of the Lord unto the people that asked him of a king. And he said, this will be the manner of the king that shall reign over you. He will take your sons and appoint them for himself, for his chariots, and to be his horsemen, and some shall run before his chariots. And he will appoint him captains over thousands and captains over 50s, and will set them to ear his ground, and to reap his harvest, and to make his instruments of war, and instruments of his chariots. And he will take your daughters to be confectionaries, and to be cooks, and to be bakers. And he will take your fields and your vineyards and your olive yards, even the best of them, and give them to his servants. And he will take the 10th of your seed and of your vineyard, and give to his officers and to his servants. He will take your men servants and your maidservants and your goodliest young men, and your asses, and put them to his work. And he will take the 10th of your sheep, and he shall be his servant. And ye shall cry out in that day, because your king which ye have chosen, and the Lord will not hear you in that day. Taxes is where this all amounts to.
Yeah.
The king is taking his 10%.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, the Israelites not only have to pay 10% to God, to the Levites to keep them going, he's got to pay 10% to the king. Now, I don't know about you guys. I live here in the good old US of A. Do people here like taxes? Like the king to be taxed? I don't know. Maybe we fought a war for independence back in 1776 through there to be done with taxes, specifically a tea tax. And the Israelites are starting to put taxes on for the king because they want the king to do all this for them. I wouldn't like that. And there's a word in here that says confectionaries. I have to look that up. That's like perfumists and people who do sweet smells and things. And the things that remind me here I want to really focus on are their cooks, bakers, people that can do artsy things, and men who go fight in the war. Now, I'll tell you a little story about my sisters. My oldest sister, excellent cook. Oh. When she went through her breakup, I was in hog heaven because she just wanted to cook and do all these wonderful things. Since she's such a good cook, she would be gone to the king because she can cook so well. My middle sister, very artsy and craftsy, can do a lot of designs and creatives, very good with smells and things like that. She would all of a sudden be gone and, nope, goodbye, and be done and off to the king. My youngest sister, excellent baker. She'd make brownies, cupcakes, cookies, all these wonderful things. So when she went through a breakup, I was in hog heaven as well because then I could finally get what she was cooking. And then there's me. At about 16, 17 years old, I was about 6'3", 195. I would have been taken to be a soldier. None of us would have had the option back then. None of us would have had the ability to say no. My parents would have not been able to say no to the king. All 4 of my parents' children would have been gone. Like that. But I don't know about you. But if the king's going to take the best looking men for his warriors, the best cooks, the best bakers, the best perfumists and arts people, I would make sure none of my kids wanted to do that. So they wouldn't be taken. Can you imagine the distrust your children would have with you because they're trying to keep you from the king? When you become a good baker and good cook, you're taken off and have to go somewhere else? I don't know about you guys, but I like to eat. I like to eat lots of cooking, lots of food, lots of sweets. And when I find someone like my wife or my sisters that knows how to cook really well, you could say I like to eat, but all that would be gone. All that would be taken. I wouldn't have that. Bart, how would you like it if Donna didn't make food?
Not very good.
Mm-hmm. Bye-bye, Donna. I think Donna I would say is probably a pretty good cook.
Yeah, she is.
Nora, how would you like it if Nora didn't cook for you?
Yeah.
Can you guys remember back when you first got married?
Yeah.
Yeah. There is a level of guy feeding, and there's a level of when a woman starts to feed us. I tell you something, for me, my wife cooks great food. I was 225 when we got married. I ended up at 290 at my heaviest. I'm now sitting about 275. I like to eat. My wife is a great cook. It's wonderful. But now that she's gone in the military, I'm back to guy eating again. Yeah. And I'm kind of like, oh, this isn't good. I've got to find food to eat, and it's not as tasty as what my wife has done. I've learned a few tricks over the years of what she's done. But I'm still not as good as cook as my wife is. Because when my wife says to people, and they ask her, what'd you do today? I fed my boys. Is that all you've done? She looks at them and says, you don't know how much my boys eat. My son and me, we can't put it away. Lord help us whenever he starts eating like he's 16 and going through a growth spurt, we're going to be going through a lot of food. You talk about going through food and steaks. That boy already likes steak now. He likes shrimp now. He likes salmon now. We're going to go through it. My wife makes 2 9x13s just to feed her and me right now, let alone when we have more. That's a lot of food. And all that is gone with the king. And you have no say in it. So we're running out of time here. Don, reread 19 through 22 for us.
But the people refused to listen to Samuel. No, they said, we want a king over us. Then we will be like all the other nations, with a king to lead us and go out before us and fight our battles. When Samuel heard all that the people said, he repeated it before the Lord. The Lord answered, listen to them and give them a king. Then Samuel said to the Israelites, everyone go back to your own homes, hometown.
Huh.
Yeah.
At this time, they don't have the Holy Spirit. There's one director. We don't have the mediator, Jesus, for us, that we can now talk to God. They got to go through Samuel. That's a whole nation pressing on you saying, we want a king.
Yeah.
Anyone ever heard of peer pressure? If you don't believe peer pressure is a real thing, go look at a high school. Go look at a basketball team and see the one guy that's screwing up. And all of a sudden, he may not be screwing up in a week or two after the coach makes everyone run. He will be taken out and probably punished a little bit. So I can imagine Samuel's got a little bit of peer pressure on him right now. Of everything going on, it's like, this may not be so smart for me to do. And I imagine Samuel's a little bit nervous because you got a whole nation in front of you putting pressure on you saying,
Yeah.
get it done.
Yeah.
They don't know what they're asking for because they want somebody in the flesh they can see to rule over them.
They don't realize how greedy the kings is going to be.
Yes. They forget that man in itself is sinful in nature.
Yes, sir.
With God as King and Lord, we have a just ruler. With a king over us, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
You have no
Yeah.
say.
Yeah, you can go ahead and look through the Bible after they got a king, and you can just see some of them was pretty good kings, and then they had some horrible kings.
And some of the horrible king's line lasted a very long time.
Led them away from the Lord completely. Yeah.
Even David's son, Solomon, was led away from the Lord.
Yeah.
And the Lord was fighting their battles for them, you know,
Yeah.
when
They-
they obeyed him.
They were
Yeah.
doing it.
But, you know, when they got a king, that's a different story.
And they forget that the king has to report to God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if one person is up and has a whole bunch of people under him, going back to pastors again, Satan can lead him astray, and then the whole group follows away. Because you can pick off one person, but if you can convince a general or commander to lead the people astray, instead of just losing one person, you've lost a whole platoon. And then
Well, was it
or a whole
one of
nation.
David's sons, wasn't it, was tried to get people
Absolutely. Yep.
to vote him as king
Yep,
and take
absolutely.
David
Yep.
out.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is what's really scary for a lot of people is they don't know what they're asking for.
Right.
The Israelites didn't know what they were asking for. Like the boy you said, I want to do what you do all day. He didn't know what he was asking for.
Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes children don't know what they're asking for.
Yeah.
And the Israelites are God's children.
Yeah.
We are God's children. Think about that some days whenever you're thinking about, I want this God, and you spec it, and you make it fairly general. I've learned you've got to be specific with God. Very, very specific. Even when I think I have all the specifications done, it's still tough because God knows all, and He knows how I'm going to get there. I just have to put when, where, how, and sometimes the answer is no. He can say no. He's the parent. He's the king. Other times He's like, sure, here you go. Because I remember when I was asking for a wife, and I was shaking my fist at God. I was like, God, I want a wife. I want a wife. I'm getting too old here. I was only 24. All of a sudden, my truck starts shaking. Uh-oh. And I remember my story of my dad where he was angry at God, and his truck decided to flip over and cut him right underneath the eye with a rock. He had that scar all the way to this day. I said to God, I'll wait. Don't hurt my truck, please. All of a sudden, my truck stopped shaking. It's like, I'll take that. Or other times, it's like, God, all these people have a wonderful relationship together. At least that's what it seems like to me. He's like, that's what it seems like. Stay a little bit later, and then there's a big fight that breaks out. And you're like, and He told me. And like, I've never heard God audibly, but it's one of those things you can just kind of see and you feel in presence. Or it's like, I can give you what you asked for. Or you can wait a while and I can give you what you really want. It's like, I'd rather have what I really want instead of what I'm asking for. Because God will bless you in His own time. Sometimes that time takes a very long trial. And it's a lot of growth that's got to happen to get you ready for where you want to be. But the important thing is the growth will happen.
Maybe 40 years of wandering around in the wilderness.
Yeah, sometimes it takes that long. You know, for me, I look back and it's really funny because my wife and I joke about this, and we'll wrap up real quick, of where it's like, I can't believe what I was about 6 years ago when I first met your father. She's like, yeah, you've changed a lot. I'm like, I know. I look back at old photos. My hair's different. My beard's different. My body shape's different. My attitude's different. She's like, you always had a heart for the Lord, but you were kind of a screwball. I'm like, trust me, I know. And she's like, but so was I. And what you have when you have two pieces of iron going against each other, you get sharper and sharper and better, and you grow together. That's where we'll stop for this lesson for the day. We'll be in 1 Samuel chapter 10 next week. Let's end in a word in prayer. Dearly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this wonderful time together as a family and a group members on the internet as well, that you just love us and you care for us and you're with us this entire time. Lord, help us to know what we're asking for and give us the light, because sometimes we don't know what we're asking for, Lord, but your gifts are perfect, and what you bless us with is truly awesome and amazing. Just can keep us safe this day and keep us safe as we go home, and thank you for the wonderful heat and the water and everything you have going for us. In Jesus' name we ask thee and thank thee. Amen. I leave you all again by saying, walk with the King today and be a blessing.